From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health. And now here is our host and producer, Hilda Labrada Gore.
Hey, Hilda here. Your body is your lifeguard, doing its best to defend you from toxins all around you and in conventional food. And food, real, organic, regeneratively raised food, is your best defense when it comes to giving your body what is needed for the task at hand, even if your life and health got off to a shaky start. This is episode 487, and our guest today is Phoenix B, a health and relationship coach and body worker supporting physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. He manages Simply Grassfed. Phoenix shares today why he is convinced that we are being sold a bill of goods when we are told that vaccines are good for us or bleaching our food is a good idea to make it safe for human consumption. As a farmer, Phoenix believes that what is making us sick is not bacteria or pseudoviruses, but toxins in and around our food. And really, Phoenix should know. He had a childhood filled with Lucky Charms and TV dinners, but now he understands how to nourish his body, and he explains how he does so. He covers how the organic label doesn't tell us everything we need to know. He explains the difference that real, organic, regeneratively raised meat has made in his own health and the health of his customers. Finally, he explains why a new initiative for a vaccine to prevent cow burps and farts is misguided. And yes, there is such a vaccine in the works. Before we get into the conversation, join us at the Weston Price Foundation's Wise Traditions Annual Conference. It is being held in Orlando, Florida, October 25th to the 27th. The speakers include many of your favorites, including Sally Fallon Morell, Dr. Tom Cowan, Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, along with new speakers like Melissa Sell, who will address German New Medicine, the concept that trauma actually is the root of all disease, and Dr. Stephen Hussey, who will talk about structured water in the body and how to shore it up for improved health. At the conference, we'll enjoy nutritious food, we'll learn about healing wisdom, we'll meet friends, and be inspired. So go to wisetraditions.org now to sign up today. I'll be there too, and I can't wait to give you a big hug. This is Hilda Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Welcome to Wise Traditions, Phoenix.
Hello, good to be with you, Hilda.
This is so fun that we're at Polyface, and seeing you reminds me of the importance of real food. I'll never forget when we last got together, you told me that chicken, even chicken that has all the right labels that you buy from the grocery store, can sometimes be bleached, dipped in bleach and different chemicals to ostensibly get rid of bacteria. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, it's really an atrocity how much the organic label has been greenwashed. You go to Whole Foods, even a lot of the popular brands that you would think are raised humanely and are eating quality, unchemicalized forage. When it comes to butchering, you go to a USDA butcher anywhere in the U.S., they've got standards that they have to comply by. They have a butchering plan that they agree to before they open up their doors, and there's certain criteria that they have to follow through when they process your foods. And one of the big things that you can almost guarantee if you go to a USDA butcher is that your meat is going to be cleaned either with bleach or lactic acid or with citric acid or some type of antimicrobial that's going to make your food no longer organic.
But some people might say, well, that's good because not that it's no longer organic, but maybe I want pathogens taken off of my meat.
Yeah, well, this country is full of sick people. I don't know what the numbers are these days, but the thing that's making people sick is not the bacteria. The thing that's making people sick is these chemicals that are in the food when the cows eat it and on the meat when it's been processed. So when somebody says, I've got food poisoning or something like that, what they're really having a reaction to is not the bacteria that's in the food. But Hilda, you're bacteria. You're 99% bacteria.
I've heard this.
And there's tons of research about kids that grew up on farm. They muck the stalls out and they don't get sick. The people that get sick are the ones that are exposed to the chemicals that are in the food that we eat. So It's a shame that the poor bacteria are getting the blame for all this. And really what it is the commercial food industry that's tainting us.
Kind of reminds me of that verse in the Bible where Jesus was calling out the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and he's like, you whitewashed tombs. In other words, we're superficially addressing something, but not getting to the root cause. So these Pharisees and Sadducees seemed super religious, but it was just an external thing. We're addressing these bacteria, but that's not the root cause of the problem in our sickness.
Exactly. And so if the FDA or the AMA was to be forthright and really take responsibility for why we're so sick, it would crumble the whole system. Take cancer, for instance. The popular notion is that cancer comes from within. There's an autoimmune response. Our body is attacking itself. These cells are dividing, and we're the innocent victims that these cancer creatures are devouring us. And really what the cancer is the human body's response to, and the American Cancer Association will never admit that it's radioactive waste, it's EMFs, it's the pesticides, the herbicides, it's all the chemicals in the cosmetics, in the soaps, in the hair dyes that infiltrate our body. And the poor little cancer cells, they're just doing their best to try to keep us alive.
Your body, in other words, is on your side. Your body is not betraying you by developing a tumor. The tumor is its protective response to the toxins you've been exposed to.
It's your lifeguard. That tumor cell is your last resort of an effort for your body to try to survive in a toxic environment.
Is this one reason why, Phoenix, you are so committed to connecting food and health, regenerating the soil, giving us food that is real food and not full of the toxins you were just describing a moment ago?
Absolutely. If we avoid environmental toxins and food toxins and just eat plain, nutritious foods, we're not going to get sick. That's what the pandemic is in this country, is people that are being infiltrated with so many toxins in this modern culture.
So tell me when you got into regenerative farming.
I've been doing this on a hobby level for 25 years or so, and just really taken it to this level in the last 6 years.
And what is the hallmark of Simply Grassfed?
Connecting food with health. So recognizing that there's this direct link between what we put in our body and how our cells take those nutrients, take the oxygen, take those macronutrients, and turn them into healthy cells. Every day, you're dying. Every day, you're growing new skin cells, new blood cells, new liver cells. It takes 7 years, and you have a whole new liver than what you had 7 years ago. So if you're taking in herbicides and pesticides, your liver is going to be intoxicated. If you're drinking whole, raw milk that is grass-fed and no hormones, no antibiotics, they've been grazing on grass that hasn't been sprayed, those cells, those liver cells, are going to get the most nutritious, packed ingredients that it needs to build you a new liver 7 years from now that's going to be optimal.
This might be news for some of us, because I think some of us might be thinking, oh, cancer is kind of inevitable. It's just the luck of the draw. You never know when you're going to get sick and be diagnosed with some strange autoimmune condition. But that doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah, it's really the wool being pulled over our eyes. And yeah, I don't want to go too deep into the why or the motivations why that's being marketed and propagandized to us in this country. But these diseases are modern. We didn't have cancer and autoimmune disease and Lyme's disease 100 years ago. And food back then, there was no organic food because everything was organic. So the GMOs and the hormones, antibiotics, that's all part of modern industrial farming.
So if food is our best defense, Phoenix, how can we make sure the farmers that we're going to and the farms we're associated with are doing it right? What are some things we should look for?
You got to ask them, and you got to ask them 2 or 3 times. Don't talk to the front desk person. Go to the farmer themselves. And when they say, yeah, it's raised naturally, well, that's a smokescreen. So ask them directly, do you feed them soy? What kind of soy is it? Or if you feed them organic grains, what kind of grains are they? It might be organic soy. So you just want to be very specific with your question asking and diligent, and don't take the first answer they give to you and walk away.
Why might some of the farmers be taking shortcuts and not using the best feed, for example, for their animals?
Because farming is not a lucrative business, and farms are going out of business by the droves, and the only way for them to stay in business is to have some margin. the difference between, for example, we raise beef cattle. And if you want to raise a beef cattle without soy, without growth hormones, it takes an extra year to get that cow to the size that it needs to be in order to get the return on it when you take it to the butcher. So you can shorten your growth cycle, especially with chickens and poultry and smaller animals, because the traditional heritage breeds, they take twice as long to grow as some of the more modern breeds that do well with hormones and small living spaces. So if you're a farmer and you're trying to make ends meet, the difference between 2 months and 4 months in turning your animal into profit is a big deal.
I bet some farmers might not even be aware that what they're doing isn't best for the animal or for the consumer. They might just be doing it, like you said, to improve their margin, but they might just think, well, this is what all the farmers do.
They do. And there's no bad guy here in this at all. Most of the farmers that I know that haven't caught on to the organic movement yet, they lived through the whole polio scene. And so they think they're doing the best by vaccinating their animals. And they really believe that. It also comes down to economics, because if you have, say, 50 beef cattle and 20 of them are sick, if you give them blackleg is one of the vaccinations that they often give young calves, you could potentially save that calf. The vaccine will help. It'll cause that cow to have a reaction that will increase their immune system so that they fight whatever disease it is that they're experiencing. What they don't look at is that what's causing that virus or what's causing that disease is that it's usually the cows that are the most unhealthy, the ones that are deficient, the ones that are malnourished. And instead of culling those from the herd, which would be the organic thing to do, that would be suicide for a farmer, wherein you can just give them a small antibiotic or a vaccine and they thrive, and then you can sell it for a few $1,000s instead of just taking it to the auction house and selling it for $50.
So in the olden days, in other words, they might have done something, let nature take its course, for example. But now we have these modern things that can extend the life artificially of the animal, but it's causing side effects, for lack of a better word. And then when we ingest that meat, it's also affecting our health.
Just like humans. We've extended the life of human beings. My grandmother, she lived 101 years old, and she had a whole arsenal of medications that kept her going. So yes, it does extend the life, which can be a financial savior for a farmer, but it's causing the collapse of our health in this country.
Coming up, Phoenix tells us why it's important to ask the farmer about their livestock processing practices. And he points out that bleach is not the only USDA product approved for cleaning meat.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
One Earth Health. Explore the amazing benefits of organ meats with One Earth Health. Did you know that organ meats from New Zealand are 400% more packed with nutrients compared to those from other countries? That means you get a lot more of vitamins A, K, and the B complex, plus other high-quality nutrients. At One Earth Health, they put these nutrients into easy-to-take capsules. Their cows are raised in pastures without GMOs or pesticides. And what's special about the capsules? They're filler-free. You just get 100% organ meat, and their prices are the best for organs from New Zealand. You can get their popular beef organ supplement bottle for just $39.99, and it comes with 200 capsules. So boost your nutrition with One Earth Health now. Visit their website at oneearthhealth.com/wisetraditions for a special sign-up page that gives you a 15% discount. Again, that's oneearthhealth.com/wisetraditions for that sign-up page that gives you a 15% discount. And Maui Nui. This episode is brought to you in part by Maui Nui Venison, a mission-based food company bringing the healthiest red meat on the planet directly to your door. First off, it is seriously delicious, easy to cook, and the whole family can enjoy it. Don't let the word venison throw you. This is so clean and tender. You will love it. And ethically, you can feel great about Maui Nui venison. This is the only stress-free, 100% wild harvested red meat on the market. A one-of-a-kind operation over a decade in the making that is actively helping restore balance to vulnerable ecosystems and communities in Hawaii. Visit MauiNuiVenison.com/wise to take advantage of this limited time offer and get 20% off your first order, including your first subscription. Make sure to get on the notification list so you are ready when memberships are released. Again, that's mauinuivenison.com/wise to take advantage of this limited time offer and get 20% off your first order, including your first subscription. And enjoy. This is Huddle Labrada Gore, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. So when I'm going to a farm, I can ask about vaccinations. I can also ask about pesticide practices. Should I also ask about processing practices?
Absolutely. Again, depending on the butcher, they have to set up a butchering plan before they go into business that gets approved by the USDA. And you have the option to clean your meats with apple cider vinegar. It's an organic product and doesn't have any chemicals in it. But most butchers, 99% of them, don't opt for that as a cleaner. They go for the one that they know is going to sterilize, and that their customers that are from a culture that is really frightened by the germ theory, they want that. They recognize that seal of approval from the USDA. They know that beef has been cleaned with bleach and there's no microbes in it. And as that culture starts to age out, and this younger generation, like my son Asa, who's 4, start to see the real enemy, which is the chemicals, they're going to start opting for a butcher that goes with apple cider vinegar.
Can you operate without getting this USDA seal of approval at all? Is this one reason people are turning to the private membership associations and so forth?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the main reason why people buy from Amos Miller, is because he recognizes that involving the government certification organizations, it actually is a detriment to the health of the products that he sells. So he's committed to butchering on his farm. He's committed to cleaning with apple cider vinegar, and his customers know that they're going to get unadulterated, unchemicalized meats if they purchase from him.
Is that how you do it too?
We have a butcher shop that cleans with apple cider vinegar, and that's what we use.
And so how many cattle do you have? Tell me a little bit more about Simply Grassfed.
So Simply Grassfed is our website business. And within that, we have 2 farms. There are 2 brothers, John Fisher and Alvin Fisher. Alvin Fisher is in Paradise, Pennsylvania. And that's where he has the Jersey herd, where we produce all of our grass-fed, 100% grass-fed Jersey A2 raw cheeses. I'm with John Fisher down in Virginia. We've got several hundred acres there where we raise all the meats. So we're raising our 100% grass-fed beef, sheep, goat, pastured turkey, pastured pork, and pastured chicken.
So when you talk about connecting food and health, have you heard from customers any stories about health improvements?
Oh, absolutely. I get emails from customers about weekly, especially moms that have had children with autism or children with Down syndrome. Had one woman actually approached me here at the Rogue conference that had a child with some sort of mental disorder that impacted her memory. And when she switched over to organic meats and raw dairy, their children improved. It was a very obvious response to a change in their diet.
And do you see anything in your own family, Phoenix? I'm curious.
Well, Asa, our son, he's 4 years old, and he's had nothing but this food his whole life. So we compare him to some of the other kids that are in the homeschool program and the forced school programs. And he's had maybe a runny nose twice in his life. And all the ear infections and throat infections and tonsillitis and stuff, he's never had that experience.
I'm looking at him right now. His eyes are so bright. He's so attentive. He's quietly sitting in your arms. You don't often see children behaving this way. And I agree that it's a product of the food in part, for sure.
Well, that's the other thing with the chemicals is they incite your fight or flight. When you have some toxin in your body, it causes your body to go into a response that raises your anxiety level, raises your blood pressure, raises your, it basically puts your body in shock where it's trying to get that toxin out. And so, yeah, that will make kids appear and act really unstable and jittery. And yeah, the calmness that he has is, I'm sure, we're not Buddhist, so I think it has a lot to do with his food.
Tell us about your own health journey.
Well, I suffered from real extreme asthma and allergies when I was a kid. I was in and out of hospitals, the albuterol treatments, and the doctors were saying, you've got allergies. And now looking back, 58 years later, it was from the chem lawn that I played in as a kid, the chlorinated pools that I swam in, all the food. My parents, bless their hearts, they did everything they thought they were supposed to do with the childhood formulas and the Lucky Charms and Chef Boyardee and TV dinners and all that stuff. And there was no correlation or no suspicion of that might have been causing my allergies. But Hilda, as an adult, I was about 25 years old when I switched over to eating organic food. I stopped swimming in chlorinated pools and was really cautious about my exposure to different environmental toxins. My allergies and asthma are gone. I haven't had a wheezing episode or lost night's sleep for 35 years at this point.
Oh my gosh. And other people, Phoenix, right now are spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on all kinds of medications to try to address their sleeplessness, their fight or flight mode, their stress levels. And you have a simple solution in the food.
Yeah, if you want a good night's sleep, if you want high energy level, if you want to avoid all the symptoms, disease is just it's a red flag that your body's telling you that you're under assault. There's something that has entered your body that is not human, that's not alive, that is here to hurt you. And if people were to take that heed, and instead of taking a medication or to stop the sneezing or stop the gas or stop the fever or stop the rash and allow the body to eradicate those toxins through our sweat, through our coughing, through our bowel movements, and then just take in wholesome, nutritious food that doesn't have those chemicals, we wouldn't have this epidemic.
All right, I just have a couple more questions for you before we wrap up. The first is this. Have you heard that they are trying to come up with a vaccine to stop cows from burping and farting? I'm mentioning it because you were just talking about there's something for every symptom. They're literally trying to come up with something like that.
Yeah, cows need to burp and fart. They're a fermentation system. They have 4 stomachs, and the way that they process sunlight through chlorophyll into the plant so that we can drink their milk and eat their food that supplies us with all this vitamin A, vitamin D, antioxidants, is through that burping and farting. They take that grass and they can do it better than any other animal on the planet. Our human digestive system is acidic. It doesn't do that. But cows' digestive system is a brewery. So you put in all that wonderful grass and you let it percolate and burp and bubble and fart. And that's what makes those macronutrients and vitamins and minerals available to us.
So that's part of the process. Maybe we shouldn't try to stop it with a shot.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
All right. So now my final question that I love to pose is this. If the listener could just do one thing to improve their health, Phoenix, just one thing, one step in that right direction, what would you recommend that they do?
Yeah. The 4 horsemen, if you cut out sugar, you cut out white flour, you cut out caffeine, and you reduce the salt that you take, and pay attention to and ask those questions to the farmer. Ask them what kind of chemicals do they receive and be really diligent about that. Those would be the takeaways.
Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been great, Phoenix.
Thank you, Hilda.
Our guest today was Phoenix B. Visit his website, simplygrassfed.com, to learn more. And I am Hilda Labrador, the host and producer of this podcast for the Weston A. Price Foundation. You can find me at holistichilda.com. And for the transcript for this episode, visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And now for a recent podcast review from Mrs. A. Young. She said, learning to be healthy. I love how informative this podcast is. I have learned so much about having a healthier lifestyle, and both me and my family are benefiting. Thank you so much. Mrs. A. Young, you are welcome. This is exactly why we do what we do. The foundation is committed to education, research, and activism. And what you've learned, please share with a friend. And you too, leave us a review if you care to, and tell the world why they should check out the show. And thank you once again for listening. Stay well, my friend, and remember to keep your feet on the ground and your face to the sun.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westonaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.